Can't Stop the Pop, the podcast where we, that's me, Craig,
and me, Matty,
do a deep dive on a song from the 90s or noughties.
So, Craig, welcome back. It's 2026. It's season 4. How are you? Are you good?
I mean, we only recorded the end of the last season about 2 months ago, and we speak every day pretty much. So, yes, no, I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It is a new year, and we have a slightly different release format, don't we? Now we're going to spread out our content a little bit, and we don't have to wait too long for us to get the rest of these episodes out. We are going to be doing them at least once a month. That's the strategy that we're going to say. So welcome back to the new release strategy for Can't Stop the Pop for 2026.
I feel like we're in our UK charts digital era. It's all changed.
So to kick us off with season 4, what song are we doing this week, Craig?
Okay, we are doing, I have to get the full title, Dannii Minogue versus Flower Power, You Won't Forget About Me. So, what are your immediate thoughts?
I really, really like this song. I think it's a great Ibiza-style track, but there is a lot to decompress about the release strategy and the album / not album and everything that was going on with sort of Dannii Minogue at this point in her career. But I really like it. Before we get into the bones of the song, and why are we talking about this song and about Dannii Minogue?
Well, being completely truthful, we were going to talk about it last season and we ran out of time. So this is sort of a spillover from season 3. But if we wanted to talk about a Dannii Minogue song that was really successful, then there are so many other songs that we could talk about. We could pick anything from the Neon Nights era, and we probably will at some point. But yeah, we love to get into a song where there's so much to talk about. And with this song in particular, I do feel like there is... you said we need to decompress. I am going to explode, possibly, and then need to be put back into a box when I start talking about this song. So that's why we're talking about it.
Amazing. I mean, and if anyone doesn't know who Dannii Minogue is, obviously sister to Kylie Minogue there. But Dannii has had a really great career. She's had a very different career than her sister, and it's difficult to talk about her career without talking about her sister because the comparison and the parallel is always there. But she's had a really wonderful career. And this was the point in which I think she was probably the biggest celebrity that she ever was at this point. And she was going into her X Factor judge era, I'm right in thinking. I was sort of on the cusp of that. And she'd had a varied career of success of up and down. And I feel like this was a run of stuff that was very much, I think it was it was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah.
So tell me your thoughts on the song.
So I really like the song. I think for some context, so it started as it's Dannii Minogue versus Flower Power because it started as an instrumental dance track, and
called Flower Power.
And then Dannii Minogue called Flower Power, and then Dannii Minogue added lyrics on top. But actually, that worked really well for Neon Nights. I think a lot of the singles, particularly from Neon Nights, had that same formula. I Begin to Wonder, Who Do You Love Now? Definitely that formula, and she did it going on as well. So this wasn't a new idea for her career, but this was her first single on a new record label. So she was on All Around the World.
All Around
AATW.
the World.
Well, I can't get angry about that yet, but I'll save that for later. So I just want to clarify first, before we get into the actual song. she wasn't dropped by London Records. I think what happened was London Records was subfolded into Warner Records, and I think she said quite openly, like, the team that was around me wasn't there anymore. I was suddenly on this really big label. I wasn't as much of a priority as I was on London, and so I didn't want to end up in this situation where I was just stuck in a deal and not able to release anything. And we know so many artists that's happened to.
Yeah.
We've talked about some of them. So she left and signed with All Around the World. And this was the
famous
first single.
record label.
And this was the first single. So yeah, the song, the instrumental dance track is great. And I think what's really important for a song like this is that the dance track is still there, and it's very audible, and the dance track is still the star. So I love the guitar licks and that sort of. There's this just gorgeous, dreamy euphoria to it. It's quite a nuanced dance track. I think there's times when I'm like, it's like midsummer and I'm on the beach and sun's blazing down. It's got that summery sense, and then there's times when it's quite restrained and it's almost quite electro-y and a little bit more brooding, and all of that plays out in the background. And then Dannii Minogue's added lyrics on top, and it works. I think.
Yeah.
It's really hard sometimes, when you get an instrumental track and then someone tries to add lyrics on top. It doesn't always work very well. It feels a little bit shoehorned in, but it does work really well.
So it's that thing of that. It's just happened quite a lot with artists that we talk about, in which they're given a track and say, "Can you sing something over the top of it?" I'm going to use an example which I don't think works as well. It's a weird place to start, but let's look at when Leona Lewis did "Collide." Which is a good song, but the dance track is what is featured there, whereas her song on top is just like, it's like butting heads. It doesn't really work.
Yeah.
This marries perfectly up, and it showcases Danny's song and the dance track, I think, equally. I really think it is there. And it's just produced so cleverly that those whooshes, the sort of that come in and out, the distortion on the guitar, which has got a bit of a flamenco element, but it's also quite electro. So you can just imagine it it's sort of one of those tracks that feels like it's like we're on holiday and it's like either the end of the afternoon as the sun goes down on the beach, or it's at the beginning of the night just before we're going out. It's really structured brilliantly, and I love that strings that come in for the chorus that keeps repeating, that are sort of very distorted, and you've got all these juttering sort of the end of each of the phrases. And when it comes to Dannii, I think that this is a very different song for her vocally. Usually she has quite a deep tone to her voice. I'm talking about tracks like I Begin to Wonder, tracks like Put the Needle on It. They've got that very sort of low, talky voice, which I know we make fun of sometimes, but it works brilliantly in those songs, and she's been sitting in that for quite a while. Whereas this, the sort of or those sort of bit high bits, they're really high. My voice is tired. It's tired today. I've got the low, smoky tone today. But she's got this really lovely head voice that she goes into. And we've then put through a lot of distortion and a lot of effects. And I really, really enjoy that it feels fresh, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even now, it sits in that weird place of being it feels very much of its time. But also, I could totally hear a track like this coming out today. If this had been produced by Calvin Harris, or even a few years ago before he passed away, someone like Avicii, I feel like it wouldn't be out of place today. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I think it's great, and I just think outside of the song, I think with the context of what was going on, it's just a really interesting like time in her career. Like, do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to go on to the video first?
Oh well, I'll probably need to talk about the video in conjunction with the label. But yes, if this was just the next single from the new album, I would be so happy with this. As I'd be like, okay, she's not just doing Neon Nights again, but she's very good at. She knows how to do that, and this does take it to the next level. So I totally agree. It really is it's a nice step into a new era for Dannii Minogue, or it should have been. So yeah, the music video. Okay. What do you think about it before?
So I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't hate the video at all. I think it is no, but I think it's unintentionally funny.
Okay.
I think the effect that they try to go for. I remember watching the making of this video when I was rewatching it back. I was like, oh my God, I watched like a whole clip about how they made it, because it's, if people don't know, the whole idea is that it's a very confused concept of like, she's come from a date and then she has a girls' night out in her flat, makes a complete mess of the flat. Then she goes back on another date and it sort of circles around. But the whole thing is filmed in these bits so that it's like, it can have these whoosh effects, just like the track. I remember specifically that she'd said that it was because they wanted to emulate the feeling of what the music sounded like in the video. So it sort of will speed up and speed backwards to go to little bits, which meant that they had to film it completely out of sync and out of order. So it is cleverly put together, but the ending effect looks so cheap in this tiny little flat that it's like, this is your lead single on a new record label, when the videos for Neon Nights, I'm talking Put the Needle on It, I begin to wonder, Don't Want to Lose This Feeling, and Who Do You Love Now? Yes, they were sort of slightly CGI background sort of videos, but Don't Want to Lose This Feeling was filmed on a massive set, was so much budget, and this is just such a step down from that.
Yeah.
I mean, we can also talk about the fact that the video gives me such anxiety because that pouring of the bubbly, when the girls pour the bubbly and they go, oh, it's all over the countertop. I was like, oh God, the mess. Clean it up, clean it up. And then she does this fake fall, which I don't know is fake, but it's like she falls and then spills her drink on the floor. And no one's cleaning any of this up yet. They do clean that bit up, but she pours it on the floor and then they go, ha ha ha, and do like a dance over the spilt drink. Then they go and get a towel, which they have, because it's a one shot, basically they have to put in the video. I think my note was it's both classy and extremely cheap in its execution.
Yes. No, I totally agree. I like, so I watched the making of the video, and the director he's talking about this like really high concept of, it's like a conversation, and sometimes you jump around in the conversation, and well, you've heard the podcast in unedited form, you know that is me, but I don't see that on screen, and I don't think it works very well. I like the idea of a time loop where she ends the date, has a night in with the girls, and then hooks up with the guy and ends up going back out on the date. I sort of like that idea, and if this was just a generic dance track from all around the world, I would think, yeah, it looks exactly like it should. But the execution of it is just, it just looks really cheap. And I think what bothers me about it is it makes Dannii look cheap.
Yeah.
In terms
it makes her look so cheap.
I'm like, yeah, Neon Nights was a modest success. It was a success. It was a modest success. But you're right. The visuals for that, they leaned into that style, and you could so see good. That yes, then she's not got millions of pounds being spent on these videos, but they work really well with what they have. Whereas this just looks to me quite naff. And I like the bit where she's cleaning the floor with a tea towel. I'm like, look, Dannii Minogue should not be cleaning the floor with a tea towel. Lovely,
And
lovely for her. Very nice thing to do. But come on, this is lead single, new album, new era, and the best you can show us is Dannii Minogue clearing the floor with a tea towel and having a little party with her girls, and it's just all very nothingy.
And also the styling. God, the styling. Like, first off, what is that blue dress? It looks like a prom dress that's been like picked up in a bargain bin, and doesn't. It's not flattering on her. And then she's put in this jumper. What I don't understand, it's this concept of like we're doing. Is it pre-drinks? But what for?
Yeah.
Is
Well,
it?
I think it's
Is it the night out? Whereas what? And she's not getting dressed up yet. She's in a jumper, and I can't help feeling that maybe if there was more of a budget, I can see a world in which this would be the concept of ending the date and then going on another one, and it's sort of being this cycle of this. She loves this boy, and you won't forget about me, and blah blah blah. But if they'd have gone out in a one shot to a club that was nearby, and it had been down the street, a la sort of like Madonna hung up, you know, that section that I mean, where she's going down the street. It just, nothing really works about it. And there's a few moments that would always get played as clips, and they're fine. But even the actual quality of what has been recorded is just really cheap. And I know we say that, you know, I know Neon Nights was like a modest success, but like she was on TV and radio a lot. I Begin to Wonder was a massive hit. And the video and the production behind that as a song, it's really sad to me that this happened to her, because what she should have been able to do was stick with the same team, build on the success that she had, and realistically go into another album straight off the bat, which is probably what she wanted to do. It feels like that is what she was gearing towards. I'm going to bring you the next level of Neon Nights up. And that's just not what happened here. It sort of became this nothingness of a release, which was quite sad, because the song itself is great. And I think it does exactly what it needs to, does what it says on the tin.
Yeah, it's like give this song the right video, and the entire package would be so good.
Yeah,
like you could like give it the video that Perfection got, or you know, just in terms of the vision, in terms of the location, in terms of the like, it's really dull as well. It feels really muted in its colors, and like you've got this wonderfully colorful, nuanced dance track, and you give it this sort of quite muted. The lighting, I mean, I don't want
there's no studio lighting in it. Yeah, we could go for ages and ages about that. Right, before we talk about what happened when it was released and get into the albums and all of that, which I feel is going to take up a large chunk, I want to introduce a new section of Can't Stop the Pop for 2026. Something that I've wanted to do for a while, and we are going to bring it in. And this is where we are going to discuss a notable B-side, or in this case, remix of the track. So this is Take It to the B-side. Insert sound effect. Now, so Craig, we discussed that we wanted to do this for tracks going forward. And as soon as I discovered this version of this song, I was like, this is, to quote another Dannii song, as you just did, perfection. So this was obviously a big high Ibiza track, and it was all the rage in the mid to late 2000s. We've discussed this before, of having like double albums of Ibiza. So you had like Club Ibiza and then like chilled Ibiza, which is slightly bizarre concept anyway. So do you want to just say your initial thoughts on the After Live Lounge remix?
I mean, I really like it. It's like elevator music. It's
Yeah,
imagine this great dance track and you're stuck in an elevator for 5 minutes. This is what could be playing. Uh it's I suppose the weird thing is it takes the whole thing is this is an instrumental of Flower Power with Dannii Minogue. So then it takes the instrumental away. So then it's fundamentally half the song it used to be, which it's an interesting concept for a remix, I guess.
I don't think I would ever listen to this version, but you've put it on your chilled playlist. I love
Oh,
that.
I love a summer chill playlist, and it's right
But
on there straight away.
but the thing is that I just think it sounds too much like elevator music.
It
It
really does,
sounds
yeah.
like it's stripped away everything good about the song. And you mentioned it before, but it definitely gives me vibes of, the jazz version that would be in a concert in the late 90s, early 2000s. How do we shoehorn in every Britney single she's ever done? An album number 3 or 4? Let's give her a jazz version. Like,
Oh
nobody wants that. Nobody
God,
wants that. How do
my
we
least
shoehorn
favorite
in all the
thing.
step singles? Let's do an R&B version of Heartbeat. Um, so this gives me that vibe. And the production definitely does sound a little bit elevator music. What's nice about it is that I think it showcases her vocal really, really well. And it's
Yeah,
nice that it strips that down to we can really just listen to her voice, which I do think is quite underrated. And it is distinctive enough from Kylie that it feels
yeah.
like she's got her own style, her own voice. But when I heard it for the first time, what it did was just gave me vibes of you talk about elevator music. There's another type of music that it reminds me of that you might not be as aware of, but cruise ship corridor music. Now
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's like fresh hell because it takes me back to I've worked on so many ships at this point, and when a company wants to put music in their hallways or corridors, which there are many on a cruise ship, it's sort of that thing of like, yes, they've got the money to buy all the rights, but what they want to do is they want to create these chilled versions. I will never,
yeah.
ever unhear, and they're really quiet. So it's like a voice in your head. I will never be able to unhear, I've mentioned it already in this episode, Hung Up by Madonna, but this piano lounge version. And I was going, what is that song? What is that song I can hear? And all I could hear was like, and I was going, is that Madonna? Like, just coming out of these tiny little speakers. So maybe on the next ship I go in, I'll hear the After Lounge Live Lounge remix of
Yeah.
Dannii Minogue versus Flower Power. You Won't Forget About Me.
I suppose the weird thing with this is I would understand the point of having this if this was released in the summer, but this was released on the 25th of October 2004. So I can't see a purpose for this at this point. It's not a candlelight remix like Heaven where you sort of
Oh,
see what they're doing with. But
love
yeah,
that.
it's sort of like great, you've created it for a season that we're out of and we're about as far away from as we are going to be. So you're reliant on this still being played next summer, which it most definitely wasn't.
Which it was not. Oh, Danny. Right, so that is what we think, but let's get into it. What happened when it was released? Tell us about the chart stats, and then most importantly, tell us about the cobbled together albums campaigns.
Oh, I can't even. Okay, so this peaked at number 7 in the UK. It was Danny's final top 10 hit to date.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether I was just too in the gay internet forums at that point, but I remember this being a real shock because I think this was expected to be a much bigger hit. I'm not necessarily going to say it was expected to go to number 1, but there were certainly people saying this sounds like a chart-topping single. This is the same year that
Absolutely.
you've had Lola's theme, Call on Me, Take Me to the Clouds Above. So there was a precedent for dance music topping the chart. And then it got to number 7. It spent 3 weeks in the top 40, and it just it just didn't make an impact. And I really think that it was talked up as this song that was really going to be much more prolific than it ended up being.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, and that was it. And I do think it was a real, it surprised me. And I'm not easily surprised by the charts, but I do remember really being surprised at that this went in at number 7 and then it just dropped out of the dropped through the top 40, because I was expecting it to be a bigger hit.
I remember it being everywhere. I remember her performing it. I remember it being on the radio. Despite the fact that it was a smaller, newer label, there was definitely a real push for it. And you have to, you know, I began to wonder, got to number 2. Like, it was a massive hit. And that album is a moderate success, but she was probably at the height of her celebrity. And it really did feel like a bit underwhelming, which is sad. So obviously that happened with that. But obviously I know what but let's just give a brief rundown of this. Then became the first single, but not like the promotional single, but the first single to be put on her very bizarre, cobbled together greatest hits album, The Hits and Beyond, which was is a weird concept that I can't help feeling was sort of thrown together, and maybe I was wrong, in this idea of you put all of your singles, but it wasn't all of them, plus some new tracks. And usually the way that's been done, the most famous version of it, not to compare Dannii Minogue to Michael Jackson, but I will.
Sorry. I was just taking a drink then, and I was not expecting I was not expecting that.
I love this. I feel like this idea of putting loads of new stuff on an album that's the greatest hits in order to get a new album out there and get new songs, but get people to buy it as a celebration, is thing that Michael Jackson did with his History Greatest Hits, which actually was a completely new album, but just also had a greatest hits on. My point being is that this was then cobbled together. So like, and some of the newer tracks are like the earliest tracks on it. It's like, this is a new album, but it's not. It's the greatest hits. I had it on CD, but what's more bizarre is that it's very obvious that all around the world. Are you okay? All around the world records. That is the bit that's going to go on TikTok.
Yeah, I just wasn't expecting that. No, so right, I was taking a drink because so this is where I need to rant. This is not about Dannii Minogue. This is not ranting about Dannii Minogue, but all around the world, I don't know if anyone from that label listens to this, but they are a terrible, terrible record label. What by that I mean, yes, they can do one-off dance songs, and they do that really well. And do you remember they used to have compilation albums? Didn't they have workout DVDs as well, like all around the world? Oh yeah,
they did.
They did. They were, as a brand, they were really good at doing one-off dance songs.
But so it made sense for her to sign with them. It did make sense, but it was just executed terribly.
But I don't think what they had any experience of was how to manage an artist single after single after single. And so I wouldn't necessarily say, other than the video, I don't think they did anything wrong with this single. But then it was almost a year to the day, pretty much, that the follow-up came out, which was Perfection in 2005. And then the Hits and Beyond followed in 2006. And I just think, Dannii Minogue,
So
as you say,
pressure, wasn't it?
So Under Pressure, yeah. Like the song. But so Dannii Minogue came out of Neon Nights with momentum. And as you said, she could get a regular slot on TV. She could promote a song. She had good radio support. So this song doesn't do as well. So what they need to do, and I say like I know what I'm doing, but you could pretty much look at any other act, is release another song,
Yeah.
don't wait a year, and just let that momentum completely flounder even more. And they just left her. And I think the Hits and Beyond, not a bad idea, but don't release it 2 years after you've started whatever this campaign was. Like, the Hits and Beyond would have made perfect sense at this point. So she's just, she's had a successful album. She's ended her deal. They're starting over. So let's release the greatest hits. It probably would have done quite well. But don't wait 2 years and then release it when you've just put out one single a year. And I just think they were terrible. They were a terrible,
and it was also
terrible record label for her.
And also, it was released. It was such a nothingness of a release. At that point, you can just sense the frustration because Perfection hadn't done as well, and then So Under Pressure, as great a song as it is, also didn't do as well. And it sort of, the Hits and Beyond came out with very little promo, and it felt like, wow, that we have come so far since I Begin to Wonder and Don't Want to Lose This Feeling, which were on rotation on the radio 2 years previously. And it's really sad because it's obvious as well, because of what continued to happen. We have to also talk about the fact that this is technically the Beyond section of the Hits and Beyond, as in, this is what we're working towards.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought it was 5 new tracks. Was it turned out that those 3 songs and We Ain't Gonna Sleep Tonight were used as then singles, they were on the new album Club Disco, which was then even a more thrown together release of, it's only going to be digital, and then it wasn't released physically for years afterwards. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there has been like a physical release now, but I could be wrong. But it just it felt like they were probably working on that album, and there was probably demos in the vault that they put together. But at this point, it was like, what is she, like, who's listening to a Dannii Minogue record at that point? As awful as that is to say, like, who's putting her on TV? And then to promote that album, which had 4 songs off it, one of which had been a hit, they added we're actually going to release it with a cover of He's the Greatest Dancer, which was just awful. And in her discography, this, You Won't Forget About Me, is now listed as the lead single from Club Disco. And it's like, no, it was not. It was a one-off dance track that was then just left out to dry. And which is why we are here as a podcast to unearth history and correct it.
You're right. And it just, I think, now I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Dannii Minogue's music is something it isn't, but I think it's inherently, on the label's part, a misunderstanding to say that Dannii Minogue was a dance artist, because that to me evokes a different kind of approach. She did dance music, but she did pop music, and that was sort of crossover. And You Won't Forget About Me does continue that, but you can't then, if it doesn't do well, you can't then just go, okay, well, let's just wait a year and then pop up with something else and try again. Like, no, you need to go back and actually start to build up her profile again. And it frustrates me so much. Obviously, ultimately, she ended up on the X Factor, and at that point, if she wanted to relaunch her career, I mean, I know she did release a song with Jason Nevins, but if she wanted to relaunch her career, she easily could have done, and she didn't. So I'm gonna assume that at that point she was just sort of cool with not actively pursuing an album campaign in that way. But I just wonder how she felt going into this song and this deal and seeing it pan out in a way that she got 1 song a year. And it was just, I didn't rant as much as I thought I was going to, but don't let that deceive you. I am very, very angry about this.
But it's sad because she was at a point in which that She went on to be a judge on the biggest television show in the country. She got that off the back that she was a big enough name from the Neon Nights album. People still talk about, within the gay sphere of the internet, that album. And I do think that that album and the singles and the visuals had a real impact and influence on other pop and dance artists of the time. So she was an important pop star. Was her dance music element really crossing over, though, outside of gay clubs? Probably not as much as a record label like All Around the World thought. So to sort of disregard her fan base and her pop fan base was a real misfire, and almost it was just a real mistake, because there's other acts like her sister that most of her career have never ever ever strayed from what does the core fan base want. And the one time in which that she went to a different record label to be just said, maybe we do something like this, it did not work. So it was an immediate, right, we're going to rein that back in and do something else. And it's just sad to me that we didn't get a proper follow-up to Neon Nights, because let's face it, Club Disco as an album, yes, there's some good tracks on it, but it is not an album that it wasn't even physically properly released, but it's not one that should have followed up such a brilliant record. Like, she could have been releasing a record that year or so after. It could have been going top 10, and it would have given her a lot more credence and a lot more onus to be able to continue at the level of celebrity she was. And it's just sad that a track like this, which is a good song, was part of that. I don't want to use the word downfall, but I will. Like,
no, I agree. I think if you could pinpoint, the start of her commercial decline, this was it, and this was still a top 10 hit, but it still underperformed, and things didn't get better from here on out. But that's not her fault. This is all around the world. This is all your fault. Terrible.
Did they promote any other artists other than just dance artists? Just out of interest, do you know?
I don't think they did, and I think Dannii Minogue was easily their most high profile signing, but they were one-off dance acts, and they were really good at it, and they could do that really competently, but they couldn't do Dannii.
No. Poor Dannii. Well, I like the song.
I like the song, and I love that like, it's like, welcome to season 4, where two older pop gays rant about all around the world records and the downfall of Dannii Minogue's career.
But you know what, Dannii, I love Dannii. I think Dannii has got a real voice. I adore the Neon Nights album. I really like some of the tracks off Girl as well. Like, All I Want to Do is a 90s banger. Like, that is like brilliant. Disremembrance is also great.
One of the best songs of all time.
Yeah.
I said it.
You have said that before. Like, she very much has a fantastic career. 100 Degrees with her sister Kylie is the greatest Christmas song of all time.
Yeah.
It's not, but it's up there. It's up there. So yeah, and I do love this song. Like, I've loved listening to it again in preparation for this episode. I think the production's fantastic. It's just everything that was happening at the time. It's just a lot to unpack. But you know what? That is why we do this podcast, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's pick a happier song next time.
Yeah, no, it is a happy song.
It's a happy song. Happier circumstances.
There we go. If you want to listen to Dannii Minogue versus Flower Power, You Won't Forget About Me, and why would you not? You can find it on streaming on the Hits and Beyond or on Club Disco. And Craig, where can they find us?
Yes, do give Club Disco a one stream. Can't Stop the Pop has a website where there are over 500 reviews, including this song, which you can find at can'tstopthepop.com.
We are on social media. I'm Matt_Atkins9 on Instagram. You can find us on TikTok at Can't Stop the Pop Podcast, where we talk about loads of pop music stuff and promote our various episodes.
I am at can'tstop_the_pop on Instagram and TikTok. We are also at Can't Stop the Pop on YouTube. And we have a Patreon at patreon.com/Can't Stop the Pop for bonus content and exclusive episodes. If you are subscribing, we are currently rewatching Miami 7 in its entirety, for better or for worse. So
or
do
for
subscribe.
worse.
Do subscribe. Come along and join us for that.
Please do. Subscribe to our channels. Get in touch. Let us know what you think of the song. Let us know what you think of the show. Let us know what you think of All Around the World records. And please leave us a review, or leave them one, but only a good one, wherever you get your podcast from.
Thank you so much for listening, and join us next time for more
Can't stop the pop.